Okay, we should be going live very soon.
Okay.
Hi, Faye is in. Hey, Faye. Okay, well, I think we're live. Hello to everyone. I think we're live here. I'm just going to mute myself. Okay, and we're live on Facebook. Hello, everyone. People join us. Just grab a screen grab. There. Hopefully, yeah, we are live. There's a bit of a people join us. I can see 6 people tuned in. Screen grab. I know you're online, Chris. Hopefully, yeah, we are live. There's a bit of a people join us. Who are just joining us. We should have, if you're live on Facebook, you should be able to click on the video, and then some comment screen will come up on the right hand side. And we'll endeavour to look through those as it comes up. We're due to start in about 8 minutes. We've got myself, Chris, and Emma.
Hello there.
Hi.
And yeah, I'm sure shout out, but if you can't quite hear any of us, if we're not loud enough.
We probably should do that sound check now.
Yeah, we can do a public sound check. Let's have a look. You can have the whole world is going to have a picture of me for a second, and well, that's actually Emma. There we go. Let's go back to. Yeah, good. Okay, back on. There we go. Can you hear me all right? Yeah, I can certainly hear that, Chris. Let me go and get my guitar. Hang on. I was going to sort of stitch you up and do a mandolin. Okay. Play me an E chord on that. You can play mandolin, can't you?
It's just an upside down violin, right?
Exactly. I'm going to get my guitar. Hang on. Oh yeah, background music. How we look on? We have 14 people. Do you want the students to mute? If so, how? I can answer that now. Do you want the students to mute now, or do you want the students to? This is Janet. We've got a question from Janet, or in lessons. Lessons, you can just mute it bottom left. Really nice and easy on the bottom left of the screen. In your Zoom thing, there'll be a little mute thing there. This is a webinar, so you won't need to mute it on this because it's not going to come through. It's only for viewing and information. Go get my guitar.
Where's your guitar, Emma?
I'm feeling a bit left out. I don't have a guitar or special headphones.
Ah.
So.
Great shout out there. Lovely. Okay. Now, yesterday, Chris, we're going to get started in about 5 minutes. Yesterday, Chris, you taught me an E chord. So hopefully, in terms of progression, I'd like to maybe recap that and maybe some appropriate differentiation for maybe I'm the advanced.
Well, we can certainly try.
How is that, by the way?
I can hear your guitar fine. Faye, how's it sound in your end?
Face flashing on the screen. Here we go. Let's have a look.
Hello's Karen.
Hey, Karen Ashdown. Hey. Hey, Karen, how are you?
So for those of you unaware, we did do this yesterday. So this is our second live one, and we're beginning to feel like we are hosting the breakfast show. So we will give you your shout outs, maybe even deliver some traffic reports.
And yeah, we've just if you wouldn't mind, just if you are watching, just on the right hand side, say hello. Yesterday we had a very forthcoming audience. We had lots of comments, loads of shout outs. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you. So comments, loads of comments. Just if you wouldn't mind,
Andy
just,
Sherwood,
if
who's
you
that?
are watching, just on the right hand
Andy
side,
Sherwood.
say hello. Yesterday. Hey Andy. Excellent. Hey Ellie. Hey George. Hey Jack. Hello Andy Sherwood. Hello Michaela. What instrument would you like to learn, Andy Sherwood? Hello from Ellie's mum, Lorna. And that is the extent of my guitar playing. I have 2 chords down. One of them was from Chris yesterday. Just give me a moment before we start, Emma, because I have a sneaky suspicion that, and this is an ideal opportunity to raise it, is that I'm George James. I've got to do one more. I'm going to leave that with Chris. That I might have actually left my studio door open, and I have a 2-year-old and 4-year-old. So I will be shutting that right now. There you go, that's my buffering. That's actually my vocal booth, my studio.
Very nice.
Look at this. We are loads of people. So we're going to start any minute now. Hello guys. Hello Jack, Holly, Andy, Michaela, Jennifer, Lorna, Christina, Andrea, Holly, George, Tanya, Katie, Carrie, Bearson, Paula. Hello, 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 hello. Okay, welcome. I think we're about ready to roll, aren't we, Emma? Let me just check that my screen is working that end. It is. Okay, lovely. Right. Yeah, whenever we're all ready.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us. My name's Emma Collins, and I'm the Learning and Partnerships Manager for Brighton and Hove Music and Arts and East Sussex Music. It's really great that you could join us this afternoon. Thanks for giving up your time. Just to say, this is the second webinar that we've done, mainly for parents of our students. If you joined us yesterday, the plan today is to cover the same content. So you might be back because it was so good yesterday, you wanted to come and hear it again, or it might be that you didn't realise, so we don't mind if you log off. If you weren't here yesterday and you're new, welcome to you. It's really great to have you here. I'm going to outline what we're going to cover in the webinar this afternoon, but before I do, I just want to introduce a couple of colleagues from Brighton and Hove Music and Arts and East Sussex Music who have been working really closely with all of our teachers to develop online learning, and they've really got a lot of the answers to your questions, I hope. So just like to introduce Peter Davison.
Hello.
And Chris Simmons.
Hello.
Thanks. So we're going to begin today by looking at Zoom. Zoom is the platform that we're going to use for our online learning, and we're going to give you a short introduction of how you get set up on Zoom so you're ready for your child's lessons. We're then going to move into some tips and suggestions for how you can get the most out of an instrumental lesson that's delivered via Zoom. We're then going to move into a short demonstration lesson, so just a few minutes long, to give you a bit of an idea about what the lesson might look like, what it might feel like, the kind of activities that we'll be doing and the way that they have to be slightly adapted so that they work as well as possible in an online setting. And then we'll have time to take some questions. So lots of you have already found the questions and the comments bar. Please do add questions as the webinar progresses. We will be scanning those throughout the presentation and then try and answer as many of those as we can at the end. There may be some that we can't answer because we run out of time or we might not have all that information now, but don't worry, we will take those questions, we'll collate them offline, and then we're going to prepare a frequently asked questions document for parents, and then we will email that round to everybody. So do add your questions. Even if we don't answer them today, we will get to them. Just one reminder before I hand over to Peter, I'd just like to let parents know that you have already been emailed with a newsletter. So if you check your inbox or your junk mail for the newsletter from us, that's for both Brighton and Hove Music and Arts parents and East Sussex Music parents. And that newsletter gives you more information about online learning, and it also has a button that you can click on to get more information, to see our tuition agreement, and also to confirm your place for next term. So if you're hoping to continue with us, it's really important that you have a look at that email and confirm your place. I can give you a bit more information about that later, but for now I'm going to hand over to Peter to start walking us through the tech.
Great, thank you, Emma. So here we go. So first of all, hopefully you might have downloaded it. If you haven't as yet, it's Zoom. And we're using Zoom as our predominant way of teaching online at the moment. And we're just going to roll a little introduction video into the logistics and kind of setting up Zoom, the technical things that we need to look at. It's fairly straightforward, and you'll be able to refer back to this back online as well when we post it after the webinar. So the app comes on all platforms. It's on Android, it's on iPhone, it's on desktop. This demonstration is on a Mac, so you can just go to the website, download it, very straightforward. And then you can install it. There it is on iPhone. Best thing to do is to, once you've installed it, set up an account. So if the account can be in the parent's name, for all the obvious reasons in terms of safeguarding. And then once you've signed in, you've created it in the parent's name, then we'll ask you to add your teacher as a contact. Now this still works without being added a contact, but actually it's just a little bit more efficient if we do it this way. So once you're in, you go into contacts, and then you just go to the plus sign and add a contact, and then you enter your teacher's email address, and they'll get a notification. So from then on, the scheduling process will be very straightforward. All they have to do is invite you via an email or through whatever email client you're using, and they'll be able to invite. And then what it'll do is you just click on the link and it will open up and your lesson will begin. It's as straightforward as that. Now, in terms of sound settings, there's a couple of sound settings you need to do. Now, I've actually paused it at this point deliberately. This is the audio settings page. It's very easy to get to in Zoom. It's just like a little cog in the top right. And once you've opened, and you can actually get to it whilst you're in the meeting. And there's two things that you need to do. The first thing is we need to address a thing called original sound. Now, original sound is where it's picking up what is actually in the room. As opposed to what sometimes, and what Zoom automatically will do, is it will try and suppress background noise. It might sort of assume that actually your instrument isn't what it's supposed to be, because Zoom actually is initially made for speaking. So what we do is let's just roll that again. You go into the audio settings. First of all, you want to turn that off, and then you want to go here. And it says show in meeting option to enable original sound. So when that comes up in your meeting, and this will come up in the video, you'll see a little thing saying original sound on or original sound off. And what you need to do there is you need to click that. Also here you'll get three little menus. That one can stay the same, but these two, suppress persistent background noise or suppress intermittent background noise, you want to disable that. And actually that's very useful, and I found that very useful with the students today, because the student's trumpet student, and actually if that is enabled, it will duck out at times. So if you disable that, that won't happen. Actually it was a successful lesson because these settings were put in place. It's worth noting at the moment that these settings aren't available on iPhone and iPad. However, there are settings at the back of that phone on iPhones and iPads that you can actually do, and you can play around with to support that. But what we've found with iPhones and iPads and tablets, that actually, because of the technology, this doesn't seem to be much of a problem. This is much more for desktops and desktop PCs and Macs. And there we go. And there's my colleague Chris, rocking out. Bottom left, mute button. That's brilliant, because if you're in a group of 4 or 5, you don't want to be noodling it all at the same time. And also, practically, you might have a bit of persistent background noise. You might have a little bit of feedback, and if you've got 4 or 5 people with all that on, that's going to be a problem, because it'll create feedback. So just play around with your mute button at the bottom as well. Also, it's worth noting your teacher will also have control of that mute button as well. Any further support, obviously put some comments down. Lessons are ready to roll pretty soon, so the email's already gone out to sign up, so please do sign up for this. Here we go. So when you get into your first lesson, my slide, teaching and learning, yesterday it had some cricket adverts on it that I noticed, because I'm a big cricket fan. Thankfully that's not on today. So in your first lesson, here's a few tips in your first lesson about what to expect and how to set up for your first lesson.
Number 1, equipment. iPads are absolutely ideal for Zoom teaching, but also just to get...
Ooh. Let's go back again. There we go, let's try that again. There we go.
Number 1, equipment. iPads are absolutely ideal for Zoom teaching, but also just to get started, iPhones are fine as well. And also, if you've got a laptop with a webcam, or indeed a laptop with a built-in webcam, they're fine as well. Number 2, light. Now, as you can see, I've got lights coming from over here going on to me. I don't want light coming from behind me, because the camera won't know where to focus, and I'll probably come out quite dark in the picture. Number 3, what if tech doesn't go as planned, or something goes wrong in the lesson? It probably will in the first few times you try it, but actually this is all part of the learning process. And the joy of using Zoom is that actually you can schedule things at different times in the day because you don't actually have to be in a certain place. Number 4, camera position. Think about the instrument you teach and how you want to set up your camera. For example, as a trumpet player, about this, and slightly away from the microphone because it might distort. As a cellist, you might need to be further back. Number 5, make sure your teacher has a copy of your music. They may have lent you the music and you actually haven't given it back yet. So scan it over to them so they can use it in your lessons.
And that's just worth me just pausing it there for now. And most of your teachers will have the music, so this really isn't anything to worry about. If they don't, it'll be fine to take a screenshot of it and just email that over for them.
Number 6, make sure you mark in your bar numbers really clearly at the beginning of each line so your teacher can reference it quickly in the lesson. Number 7, make sure the room that you're having your lesson in is free from distractions and it's an appropriate place to have learning taking place. Also, the expectations are the same as they would be as if you were in school. And finally, number 8, have fun. This is a really new way for a lot of people learning, and it's going to be quite strange at first, but I think with a little bit of hard work from both you and your teacher, it's going to be very successful.
Great, so there we have it. Looking at far too many pictures of me, I think. Okay, so I think at this point we're ready to pass over to my colleague Chris, who's going to give us a bit of a demonstration and other things that you expect to see on Zoom. Let me just get my guitar, Chris.
Yeah, nice one. Okay, so we had a go at this yesterday. I was teaching Pete some chords. Let's see how we go today. So I've got my guitar here. Hopefully you can all hear that.
Yeah.
So Pete, very nice. So most important question, is your original sound on?
Yeah, hang on. Let me check. I'm going to have to stop showing the screen though, but that's a good shout. Let's go for it. Okay, here we go. Gallery view. There you go.
That's better.
Turn original sound on and off. So it's in the top left. Turn off original sound. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Excellent.
Okay.
So the reason, like Pete said earlier, we want that is because sometimes it can try and suppress the sound, and if Pete was to play without the original sound on, it would just duck it out a bit. So let's try and teach you a chord, Pete. I think today we're going to go backwards down the alphabet. We're going to do an E chord. Now we'll do a D chord. We did E yesterday, didn't we? Yeah. So we're going to start middle finger.
Hang on.
Middle finger here, fret 2 of the thinnest string.
Okay, yeah. And it's worth noting that the teacher will be able to see this. At the moment you're on speaker view, so you're seeing Chris. Is that right?
That's it. Yeah, that's perfect. Right, now take your index finger and we're going to go on fret 2 of the G string. So we've actually skipped over a string there.
What are we doing? Oh, that one. Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah? Cool. Yeah. And I usually tell people to think about this as 2 bits of bread. And if you put some jam in the middle and squish it down, your filling is going to come squirting out the side. So there, your ring finger is on fret 3 of the 2nd string. Very nice. Let's hear it, Pete. Nice. Let's give it 2 strums. So have a look. That's it. Now we're going to make it even snazzier. A D sus4. You're going to add your pinky finger to fret 3 of the thin string.
Now notice, as a well-behaved student, I'm actually waiting for Chris to do it, and actually that's quite key because of how the sound works. Where was I?
So yeah, give that 2 strums. Nice. So you're now going to do 2 normal Ds and then 2 D sus4s. Piecing it together. That's it. Piecing it together, it should sound like this. Awesome. Now if you can make that change even quicker, you've got yourself a Queen song.
Great.
There you go. Fantastic people, Pete.
Yeah.
So
No one's
a
ever
couple
said-
of things.
Thank you.
A couple of things about that. Like Pete said, we had to be really careful that we weren't playing at the same time, or when I was talking, Pete noodling away on the strings, tapping away, just because the way that Zoom works, things that you might think are really quiet, I'm a tapper, I tap on things all the time, and I might think that's really quiet, but it's coming straight through the microphone, and if you're in a group lesson particularly, everyone will hear that. So using your mute button and just being careful about when you play and when you talk is really important. The other thing is about how we were set up. So I'm a little bit close to the camera today. I had to tilt down to show my guitar. Whereas Pete's in a perfect position. I could see everything. I could see the whole guitar. He didn't have the device too close to his face. It was spot on. Now, something else you might see in lesson. Pete mentioned about having your music. Maybe you haven't got any music. Maybe your teacher wants to start something new, in which case you might see something like this.
I can't hear you, Chris. I can't
You can't hear me?
I can now. I can hear you now, Chris.
You can hear me. Okay. So you might see something like this. This is screen sharing, and this is a way that your teacher might display your music to you in the lesson. It will just pop up on your screen. They may email it to you. They may even draw it out live on a whiteboard. Who knows? These are all different things that you might see during your lessons. Back to you, Pete.
Awesome. Right. Thanks very much, Chris. So, just moving finally on. Do you mind if I stop? Are you stop sharing? No, there we go. So, let's just. There we go. Okay. Cool. So, finally, just to pass over actually to Emma. And she's going to talk a little bit about the safeguarding and what we've done in place, and also we'll go on to Q&As after that.
Great, thank you, Peter. It won't surprise people at all to know that safeguarding is a priority. It is when we're teaching in schools and in music centre settings, and it's exactly the same as we move online. As you'll have heard today, we are looking at using Zoom, and I am aware that there's been some concerns raised about Zoom. You might have seen that in the press, and it's certainly coming up in a few of the questions today. We are taking advice. We are in touch with schools, with partner music hubs, with Music Mark, which is the National Association for Music Hubs and Services, about what is the best platform to use. And we are taking advice on how we can use Zoom in the safest way possible. So I mentioned earlier that we've sent round a newsletter that has a link to our tuition agreement. And in that tuition agreement, which you can also find on our websites, there is a bit more detail about some of the safeguarding protocols and measures that we've put in place. So, for example, as you saw in the demonstration at the beginning of this webinar, teachers will send an invite to the lesson direct to the parents' email. The parents will then click on that link that will take their child into a waiting room. The teacher can then invite those children into the lesson space, so the virtual lesson, and then the teacher can actually lock that room so no other users would be able to access that lesson once it's started. So there are measures like that that we're looking at. We are obviously very sensitive to the fact that this is a new way of learning, and particularly if parents have additional information that they feel we need to know, please do share that with us. And as we develop, particularly over the next couple of weeks, we'll continue to review that to take advice around the safest way that we can use Zoom. And if we need to amend our practices, we will do so, and we will notify parents about that. I just want to stress again, it's really important that you do check your email. Please have a look in your inbox, maybe also your junk folder, to see if you've had that newsletter. And from there, click through to find out more about that tuition agreement. I would hope that would answer a lot of your questions. But after you've had a read of that, and if you still have questions, please do get in touch with our office. So the email address is there, and although our offices are closed, we are working remotely and will be able to respond to those questions. We are also creating a frequently asked questions document that we will be sending round to parents shortly with as many answers as we can provide at this time. I'm going to go to questions from the comments that have been coming through live this afternoon. I think the one thing to say, there's one or two questions about fees. We're not going to answer questions about fees and refunds live at the moment because there are a whole load of reasons or variables that might make that difficult to answer. We will try to respond to those queries on a case-by-case basis. But some of the questions that we can respond to today are more around the technology and the setup of the lessons. So a really good question came up about what about tuning instruments. So we're creating a whole load of resources that parents can access, so video resources that will be hosted on our website or on our YouTube channel. And we've actually started with a tuning video. So we're just going to be uploading very soon a tuning video for violin and also for cello, which talk you through step by step how to tune an instrument. We can also refer you to some free apps that might be able to help you with tuning. And we will continue to build that stock of resources. So tuning's a really good one. We can imagine if your child hasn't had a lesson for maybe 2 weeks now, some of those violins are getting quite out of tune. So those will be up shortly. Keep an eye on our Twitter feed as well, because we tend to tweet when we put up new resources, and that will be able to take you to the latest resources that we've put online. There was also a question about whether or not lessons would be pre-recorded or live. So we are working towards live lessons. So where possible, your child will continue learning with the same teacher that they've had previously. That's our aim, for teachers to be able to continue working with the same pupils. And following sign-ups through the newsletter, as I mentioned earlier, teachers will be able to start getting in contact with pupils about timetabling the lesson. We are aware that schools are offering different things in terms of what they're asking children to do and how prescriptive their timetable is. That really does vary school to school. So again, we will work with you as parents, and we will work with schools to try to find the most appropriate time for your child's lesson. Where possible, we will try and stick to the same day and a similar time to the lesson as you previously had last term. But obviously we're entering a really new situation, and that's something that we're going to have to work through with you. But we're confident that we will be able to schedule lessons Monday to Friday, primarily during the school day.
We've got one here on tech here on desktop computers and PCs. If Chris or myself wants to answer it. George, our desktop computers okay? Yes, great. They're absolutely fine as long as they've got a webcam. They're absolutely fine. And obviously iPads are great, and MacBooks and etc. They're all fine.
I've just seen, it's really great that we've got so many questions coming through. Thank you for that. I've just seen a question about orchestras and ensembles. So you'll be aware that our music centres obviously are closed at the moment, and we're not able to offer face-to-face group music activities. We have focused on instrumental lessons initially, so the individual and the small group lessons. We're very keen to have those up and running for after Easter, so that's where we've focused all our attention at the moment. There are some more challenges in terms of the technology around large group music making, but we have not given up on that, and we are looking at that. There are things in the pipeline for music centres, and where we can't offer the same kind of activities, we're looking at what other kind of extension activities we can offer online to help learners. So we're looking at how we can develop musicianship, musical understanding and appreciation, composition, conducting, a whole load of skills that we think will enhance your child's instrumental lesson, and we'll be in touch as soon as we can with more information about that. I think that's most of the questions from this afternoon. Are there any that you want to...
I'm just scanning through. I think you've answered when will we know when lessons are. You've done that in scheduling. It looks... Can you get Zoom on an iPad? Yes, you can get Zoom on an iPad. Yeah, I think we're pretty much covered everything, Emma.
Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. I would like to say thank you to all the parents who have joined us today. A big thank you to Pete and Chris, not only for the webinar today, but the work they've been doing with all of our teachers to develop our skills and get ready for online learning. I would also like to say thank you to all the parents and partners who've sent messages of support. It's been really fantastic for us at this difficult time to know that you're there and you're enthusiastic and your children are looking forward to coming back to their lessons. I promise you we're as enthusiastic as you are and very keen to be back offering tuition for your children. Do keep an eye on social media, as I mentioned before, and on our websites. Do check your email. If you've got any further questions, do please get in touch with us, and we look forward to seeing you online soon. Thank you.